Hello everyone and welcome back to the Pro League and another match of Beyond All Reason. A best of 3 series between two absolute powerhouses as we drop into our very first game between these two legends. Yeah, definitely some that we see contending in most of the high level 1v1s and commanders that certainly, if you're into the 1v1 scene, you've kept your eye on as well as I have tried to. Spawning here as the red commander in this Delta Siege Dry match, it's going to be none other than C3BO of the APM clan, and spawning in the standard default spot and playing as an Armada commander. If we've seen very recently, yeah, this is kind of a change that swept me a little bit off my feed, but Armada is being favored a lot. I suppose those early rovers are very, very nice, and then the blitzes are quite fast too, especially on a big wide open map like this. Getting that map control is very nice. Going to be going into vehicles indeed. Spawning on the other side here also has Armada, also going vehicles. It's none other than Pro Randy, a previous tournament winner, going to be defending their fame, I suppose, against C3BO here, also going for vehicles. Spawning in a slightly different position, but the triangular position here versus the, I guess, frontliner position right here is basically exactly the same. It just means that you're going to be able to expand to these southern expansions a little bit safer, whereas the northern ones are a little bit more exposed. I kind of like it. I actually think this is the ideal strategy because you know that it's going to be difficult for the vehicles to head on over in this direction. There's just more terrain for them to navigate this way. Whereas the big flat open terrain rascals and rovers will be across it very, very quickly. It means that as long as you can defend this choke point, I mean, that's a very wide choke point, but this crossing, I shall say, you're going to be okay for defending these mexes over on the southern side. So I like this start here from Randy, but otherwise it's basically identical. Randy versus C3BO, both going for nearly the same exact build. Double constructor start right here for Randy, or pardon me, for C3BO does mean that we are going to be, at the very least, a little bit slower on the draw getting those units out and together. One of the things that, well, one of the problems that this causes is, yeah, early harassment is going to cause a bunch of problems. We can start that mix up again, and we do have a little bit of a defense coming out now. A couple of those rovers now going to make their way across the little heat ray beams, blasting off each other, and finally they'll be cleaned up. Okay. At the end of the day, what did it cost us? Only just about a couple of seconds of construction. Not really anything too super serious. But it does mean that, at the very least, C3BO is going to be, like, a mechs behind at all times. Whoops, pardon me. And I think mostly going into this, it does, at the very least, I mean, as long as you control this choke point, it's all good. But again, we see rovers coming in. And players as good as Randy are going to know to put a bunch of pressure on this. And so once again, this falls under a bunch of assault. Are we going to get the con? No kill on the con, but the mexes are in a ton of trouble. Defensive rover here trying to stop all this. Self-D? No self-D on the mex right here, so this rover will get away with it. You can feel C3BO warming up to the pressure, right? The mexes are popping left, right, and center just after being built. Means it's a ton of metal wasted right here. Counterattack is attempted, but again, we don't have any exposed angles right now. C3BO would have to fight through this northern side, which is super difficult to do, or they would have to try and break through this center choke point. So all Randy has to do is hold on to this. A little surprised to see that we haven't gone all the way into blitzes yet, but I suppose we want to build up a healthy number of those rovers before making that transition. Not the case here for C3BO, instead focusing on some of those slightly more efficient units a little bit faster. Going to expand into these mexes with a follow-up constructor, sending one of them forward and one of them sideways. Super, super greedy for C3BO, going for this many constructors, but eventually it does mean that you can transition into a much bigger energy economy, a much faster metal economy. It's a long-term sort of a thing. Units now coming across here from Randy, once more sneaking by and trying to find some value. No LLTs set up anywhere over here, no dedicated guards or anything, so these rovers continue to have so much value. Randy making this game very, very difficult right here with continued aggression all over the place. LLT on this side will catch these ones, but no such luck over on this side. We've got rovers parked around all over the place to kill all this, and I think we're even going to get the constructor over here. Con goes down. Mechs will be short to follow. And despite all this being cleaned up eventually, it's another huge hit. Continually slowing down here, the red commander. Metal advantage in the 10 to 15% range here for the blue commander. Depends a little on reclaim and whatnot, but of course, it's slowly going to keep growing and growing and growing. Blitzes now finally rolling out of the lab. Once you have enough in those blitzes, the rover kind of becomes obsolete. The one advantage I will grant C3BO is that holding onto this frontline position can start to lever open the middle of this map. These mixes are pretty close together. These ones also nice to grab. Slowly and steadily expanding. But slowly can sometimes mean you get outscaled pretty quick. No transition on the mind yet for either of these commanders. Blitz is going to be holding this choke point, and the LLT will be started up. Once this LLT is done, anything short of Blitzes is not going to be able to punch through here. Not easily, anyway. Blitz army going up against the Rovers. This is exactly what we're hoping to catch. I mean, the Rovers actually doing a good amount of damage right there, but ultimately, yeah, I think they're going to have to retreat here against the Blitzes. Nice micro right there from Randy, though. Even though they're just Blitzes, doesn't want to leave those corpses out on the field, so pulls them off the hotkey group and will send them back for a little bit of a repair. Actually, a little bit less build power here than I was expecting. Yeah, we are going to start up that second build turret. I think makes a lot of sense as we're getting ready to go a little bit harder into the unit production, maybe even towards medium tanks in only a little while. Effectively, once you stop being able to expand with the mexes, you either want to focus on improving your army with a whole bunch of expensive units, or you want to focus on going for like E-converters or T2 tech effectively. We're still a little ways off. We have 3 more mexes to grab down here, another 2 mexes up on this side, and of course we likely want to try and grab this geothermal, or at least push up into it. Twilight come up here. Okay. Oh, I kind of like the Twilight. Yeah, that's sneaky. C3BO pulling out all the stops right here. It will be detected. Oh, it has a massive detection radius. That's a change. It used to be you nearly had to step on the thing before it was detected. Not the case anymore here, it would seem, as the blue commander does find it. EMP will stun all those blitzes right here, which is really quite nice, but the con is dead. And that mex will fall here as well. Okay. Southern side defended nicely. Blitz is going across looking for that value. We have tons of solar panels up and running here, as well as a ton of wind turbines. Early triple build turret right here means we can get those wind turbines up and running super quick. With the LLT's help, I think this will be held. Randy just pushing in for whatever value can be found around the map. Going for the geothermal. In the last match we saw on this map, both commanders neglected the geothermal super hard. I don't know why. The geothermal is a super powerful tool. It'll be about a minute before this one finishes up here. But double constructors, you could build that geothermal so quickly. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like a no-brainer to me. But these guys have played the game a lot more than I have. Especially the 1v1. They know this rhythm quite a bit better. So it just must not be necessary. Transports. Carrying a bunch of blitzes. My goodness. What a play coming out here from Randy. Sending transports around the sides full of blitzes. What a maneuver. Blitz is going to be dropped into the back line right on top of the constructor here to try and kill as many of these mexes as possible. Oh, we need to micro that back. There we go. Yeah, Blitz is going to have a wonderful time tearing apart those mexes. Ooh, fighters are produced. One of them goes down, but the other 2 will still land. We're going to focus on the LLT here. Nope. LLT should have been focused down right there, I think. Might be able to defend. Okay, close call. We managed to defend that. This Blitz is still up on the high ground, though. We managed to get right on past the LLTs. Geothermal comes up, so that's going to be great for the energy production right here. GG is called, though, for the red commander. Honestly, I don't think the damage was that high. I think with the geothermal, another round of production could have been possible, but it does not matter. Randy takes game number 1 as we hop on over to game number 2. Game number 2, dropping down onto the world of Shallow Straits. This is a fun map. This one always ends up being a blast. Super dynamic in the way that commanders can approach these cliff sides and sort of get up into each other's grill in the back line just because they're, well, one of the few amphibious units most commanders have access to. Usually ends up being a absolute blind knife fight. Just, you know, a back alley blind knife fight at each other's throats all the way through. So I was very excited when I did see that this map ended up being the one that was chosen. Both commanders here, spawning in the same colors, and it does look like C3BO will be opening with a vehicle lab. Now, that's just to me that we are intending to go for some amphibious units, maybe some Garpikes sneaking around. Both commanders going for the same strategy here, both very well practiced, of course. And you can tell that both of them are kind of aware of the exact method that we're going to be going for. It's kind of funny, beyond a reason. You switch races so frequently, right? I feel like most, you know, I compare to StarCraft the most often. When we talk about StarCraft, you sort of dedicate yourself to a race, and it's very rare that a pro player will change races. It's happened from time to time. There are a few, like Hero Marine has transitioned from, well, Terran, obviously, to Protoss. There's a lot of things like that, but in Beyond a Reason, you kind of learn all the units. You learn every faction, and you kind of play them all, which is a little bit interesting. Rovers, Rascals rather, Cortex Rovers, headed across the field. Going to be the first to make contact here as they come around the bend of the central mountain. They will both confirm for the first time that we are both playing Cortex. Nice. The exact moment that both these commanders realize there's an enemy out there on the field, and that they look exactly the same as you do. Maybe a doppelganger sort of a situation going on. Creepy. Red commander moving out here on the back of just one constructor. Looks like the blue commander going to go for some extra solar. Wind speed not looking fantastic here, so going to put down that double solar panel. Looks like C3BO skipped the wind turbines entirely and just went into that solar panel right off the get-go. Now, one of the interesting things is that despite this map having tons of water, there's actually very little benefit to be claimed from amphibious construction. So there's only effectively 2 mexes for each of these commanders that amphibious constructors can reach. They are, however, nearly unassaultable. Until you get something like, I guess torpedo launchers, coastal torpedo launchers, would be the easiest T1 thing to build. But other than that, there's not really anything that can attack those mexes underneath. So they're very safe, but there's a lot more mexes out on the land. So it makes a lot of sense that both these commanders are instead going to be focusing on the land construction. Moving out super aggressively here, C3BO trying to lock this all down. One LLT in this section can prevent a ton of harassment through the middle of the map. Red Rovers, headed on overs. Taking down the radar tower here of Randy. Popping those wind turbines and shutting down the solar panels. Super annoying here as well. Especially while the wind speed is quite low. Eventually, though, the defense is solid. Will the mechs be denied? It sure will. Mechs is sniped here, so a couple, probably 2 dozen metal down the drain there. Before the rover, the rascal, rather, retreats backwards. C3BO, critically E-starved, as all commanders start out early on in the game. Metal extractor is up and running, though, and that is really quite nice. Every one of those mexes helps the economy grow exponentially, and we've got them continuing to grow in the backline right here. Both of these commanders locking down their backlines quite nicely, though. Damage relatively even as we head into the mid-early game, getting ready to transition out of these rascals towards the incisor. Lot of names. That's the other thing about Beyond a Reason, having to switch between different factions basically every match. You have to switch the names of the units you're using every match. Yeah, it's tough. C3BO kind of idle with the commander is a little bit odd. I would have expected to see at least these other 2 mexes coming up and online. We are worried about the build order in the backline. Ooh, we're going to eat the laboratory. Are we worried about a commander coming across and degunning? That would be my idea. That happens basically every time on this map. Commander comes over here, jumps into the water, pops up on this side, deguns it. Yeah, that's what the LLT is for. We need like 3 LLTs. Oh, we're gonna go for a twin guard. Okay. I wonder, I don't know if the twin guard affects the commander the same way the regular LLT is. I think it might technically, for defending against commanders, be a little more efficient to put 2 LLTs a little wider apart. Like one over here and then another one over here. Anyway. Not that it matters all too much. We're basically just trying to make it awkward for a commander to push in. As we go for boats. Okay, I see the move here. C3BO going into a naval laboratory and going to start pumping out some of the naval units. We're going for a destroyer first, which is expensive for sure. Solar panel going to have to be chucked down right here in order to help fund this. But once this destroyer is out, it can start firing away at this base super, super aggressively. Blue Commander detecting this with the radar and realizes what this must be with that radar blip out in the water here. It can only be a naval lab. Still, though, torpedo launcher can be killed here by a destroyer. What will Randy choose to do here to try and contest this? Looks like we are going to walk forward. We're actually going to go for guards and twin guards. Nice. We need to start that E-scaling, though. Both of these commanders are critically energy stalled right now. Wind turbines failing to produce enough energy here. Oh, jellyfish did not come up in time. C3BO makes it onto shore. We need to charge a D-gun. LLTs here are dangerous. We need the vision so that we can start firing away with the destroyer. Radar tower over on this side. Radar tower right here. Guess not. Commander will be the mobile radar tower. Okay. Amphibious Garpike will sneak around the side here. Gonna try and find some value. There's an LLT over here. I don't know who wins that battle, the LLT or the single Garpike. C3BO moving in for the D-gun. Technically a little bit risky, but there are no units to help this out. Ooh, careful, that commander's dangerously low. 24% HP. Destroyer can fire away at that lab, though. Look how much range this thing has. Ah, it's brutal to fight against here. Randy forced to move forward. Going to have to try and deal with this. The micro has to be perfect. Randy in a ton of danger. One destroyer is enough to curdle a commander's milk. To pucker a commander right up. They have depth charges to kill a commander in the water. They have that long-range, heavy-hitting cannon to hit a commander outside of the water. Ooh, LLT versus Garpike. The battle of the century. The LLT comes out on top. Crooked barrel and shining brightly in the face of pure destruction. Bot lab started up right here. Handful of rocket bots would not be bad. Just enough to put on a little bit of pressure here. Randy lost the battle to get out into the water. C3BO keeps walking into these LLTs, though, making me so worried. Risking it all on just 12% HP for that commander. If there were any units out right now, they might be able to kill that commander. Nice D-gun, though. Kills the wreckage of the base, so it can't be reclaimed. Also manages to snipe two of those constructors right here, making it really awkward for Randy to rebuild back into this match. At this point, what do you do? Because this destroyer can contest everything over here as well. You basically have to move all your production away from the coast if you want to try and avoid this. Like the wind turbines in the corner, by the way. That's something that I think C3BO has been lacking right now. We haven't really focused on building any more economy. We've got some spectator drawings going on. Nice. Very beautiful. Build power coming up off this coast, and we are going to go into a little naval lab. A lot of metal available right here for Randy. No way to spend it. What are we going to go for out of this forward bot lab? Thug walk. Okay. Thug's already out and running here for the red commander, who's also got tons of metal and no way to spend it. The energy cost is immense. We go for a second destroyer here to pile on the pressure. We need that accompanying herring here to provide the vision necessary for it, but as long as that comes out, everything's going to be A-okay. Gonna build a safety jellyfish. Destroyer coming around the side here. Will eventually find this. 2 frigates shuts down the destroyer, but if the destroyer gets there first, it wins. Destroyer off the coast over here doesn't have the vision. We need that radar back up and running. Mass thugs right here for Randy. Looking for a way to transition into a mid-game here. Make any kind of transition possible. The, again, destroyer technically outranging the jellyfish. Jellyfish does kill the vision over here, though. Build power will be targeted. Nicely done. Jellyfish should be the next priority. Jellyfish are deceptively good. They can kind of reach a lot further than it seems like they should be able to. The reason is that it's shooting at this dot that seems like it's within its range, so it's trying. And then half the time, they connect anyway. It's a really weird sort of an engagement. This needs to be manually fired right here. Destroyer has come around and started firing at the backside of this blue base. But we do have more and more units coming out of the lab every single second. I mean, the thug armies are growing continuously. C3BO slowly regenerating HP and draining 100 energy per second for it. Wind turbines are started up back here, which is good to see. Solar panels are still up and running, though, and this core here is really where all of this has been built. I would love to see more investment on the back end. Like, we need to just keep building wind turbines. Any kind of scaling at this point is going to be massive. Laboratory is forced to be abandoned right here. The destroyer does manage to blast that down. Meanwhile, this destroyer has fully killed the base of blue over on this side too. We're transitioning into the weirdest sort of a mid-game bot-based push here. Huh. Randy, thinking about getting some vengeance for what happened earlier, dives into the water and hopes to pop up on the other side, only to be met with double LLTs and a twin guard ready to intercept. The destroyer over here firing away as well. Super, super pesky. Look at this boy lingering. Okay, can pop up on the cliffside. Nullifies one of those. Twin guard here, though. Oh, no. Shredding poor Randy down to just 26% HP before it even gets a glimpse of the extra turrets over there. That hurts quite a lot. Can we go for, like, 8 res bots? We already have 2. I think if we just go for, like, triple the res bots, we can just win this on a thug push. We're already up to a grand total of 15. Like, you don't need hardly any more than that. You just go for a bunch of res bots on the back of this. Here's the way you play this. You go for 5 more res bots. You start pushing with the thugs and resurrecting with those. And while you're doing that, you build a bunch of grunts. You save up the grunts in the backline until you have about 100 of them. Maybe 50 of them. 50 to 100 of them. And then you send all those forward to intercept all these while your remaining thugs from the res bots manage to move forward. We have a little bit of a commander duel going on. Did C3BO see just how damaged that commander actually was? Uh-oh. Oh, Randy sets up the torpedo launcher over here. Makes this a little awkward to deal with. Yeah, destroyer in position. Gonna make it pretty hard to fight over here as well. Yeah, those thugs are forced into an all-in. They either have to kill that destroyer or have to retreat, and there's no way we're going to retreat right now and give up the laboratory. The last remaining production center here. Frigates did eventually get out. Nice self-D right there, denying that corpse to the enemy. Eventually, Randy has found a way into the water. And frigates are going to be pretty good. Mass frigate is more than enough to kill these destroyers here. The major issue is all the thugs lying on the field. We're just going for mass destroyer. My goodness. The thug count. Oh, we've gone T2. Well, would you look at that? T2 laboratory up and running for C3BO. We're going to go for Quakers of all things. Okay. We've got the LLTs in position. We need to back this army off and use the LLTs to stall as long as possible. Frigates overwhelming the laboratory down south. Quakers now firing away, getting up on all fours and firing those heavy projectiles. Gonna start shredding apart the HP here of a bunch of these thugs. Is it enough, though? They're so slow to fire. Even though they hurt, they're very, very slow. Destroyers eventually taking the win over here as there's just enough of them. C3BO in a little bit of trouble here, but the Quakers are already up and running. This is a proper T2 transition. Okay. Well, now what are we to do against the T2? The T1 laboratory is still producing a bunch of thugs, but the metal has run dry. The economy is not looking stellar back here, but at least wind turbines have scaled up a whole bunch. Metal is just overflowing now from the Red Commander. I kind of love that we went T2. Rare to see a rapid T2 transition, and so risky on the front line right here. But it ended up paying out massive dividends. And now the Quakers are just stepping forward. Randy ought to be thinking about Hail Marys at this point. This is the point of the game where you have to start thinking about what you can do to steal a game out from underneath the enemy here. As a Cortex commander, it's pretty tough. You don't have a lot of really cheesy options. Armada, of course, has nuclear bombers. Legion has those Phoenix heat ray bomber gunship things. A lot of really easy ways to quickly kill a commander before it can actually do anything about it. Core just doesn't quite have that option. You could argue that the bombers are their option, but even those, you take quite a few to do the job. No gunships or anything until you're T2 as well, so yeah, it's just a tricky situation. Negotiators. Stealthy rocket launcher, good versus static defense trucks. That's their maiden name. Yeah, destroyer's firing away here against the jellyfish. No T2 con. I would have expected at least a T2 con at this point before the Tsar. Even just 1 or 2 of these mechs up to T2 is a huge advantage. Not to mention that there's 4. Quakers firing out of the ocean. Oh no, C3BO. C3BO way too close to the coastline here. Oh, don't tell me the frigates actually get the opportunity. Oh, they want to steal that kill. 51% HP. A little bit of a clencher right there. Quaker's not in position. Oh no, Negotiator's out of position here too. Salamanders are going to be the tank of the day. Randy going for an all-in. It's now or never. As the T2 advantage grows, we have to capitalize on this commander being wounded. We push in with the thugs. Randy forced to back off because the HP is getting too low, but the grunts get the surround, and the thugs manage to bring him down. Despite pulling off the T2 transition, Randy manages to clutch the game in a game-winning decisive pull of T1 troops, meaning that Randy takes this best of 3 series 2-0 against C3BO. Beautifully done right there by Randy. Managed to pull it off with insufficient force and tech, and still managed to grab a victory despite it all. Brilliantly done. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. Consider supporting the Beyond All Reason Pro League, as I know all of you many will. And I sure hope you have a fantastic rest of your day enjoying a bunch of Beyond All Reason. And we'll see you all in the very next one. Peace out.